Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and my lovely envies. We are here going to see another matchup, this time with NounVerber going up against Protokam. So let's go ahead and get into game number 1. So, going down south, we have NounVerber going out in the red. Meanwhile, Protokam up north going for the green. So let's go ahead and look into what we have when it comes to the opening bit. There are not a lot of mills available, both sides, but both are very accessible here. This is probably the most. This is like the most evenest map out of all the maps, to be honest with you. With these two here going for Verber, like very easy picking, easily go into a late game. Though this one might be a little bit out, so. This one being up in the high ground makes it a little bit more difficult to defend right here, considering that it's on lower ground. Meanwhile, for oh wait, this is NounVerber, my bad. This is Protokam's stuff right here. But NounVerber has a little bit more of an advantageous one. This one's going to be a little bit harder to defend more so. It could argue to be more hard to defend. But considering the fact that like there's only one entryway here and you can easily block that up with the high ground, be able to use some of that barbed wire to pretty much help out here, and also getting a little bit of an easy high ground base to even try to do some defending. So NounVerber probably, well, this is as even as you can get. You can probably have a slight edge of the mills over to NounVerber because of how they're set up compared to Protokam, because there's a little bit more spread out, and this one's probably a lot more difficult to defend compared to this next one right here. Now getting into the compositions, we do have Squizzards going on for both sides. NounVerber though going into a Falcon Cam combination, while Protokam having moles as well as Pigeon within there, a mass tier 1 composition with only one Falcon and the board, while NounVerber does have the Wolf and once again the barbed wire to come into play. So let's go ahead and dive right back into the matchup. It's going to start things off here with some shenanigans right here with Protokam. Maybe some shenanigans. Yep, there goes the Mole Warren. We're going to see a quick sell there from NounVerber, and go here with some nice quick respawn there from NounVerber. But the lizards now starting to come out as well. So Protokam gonna get ready to go for an attack. And now NounVerber's going to see it, so I would imagine he would go ahead and sell. No, he's going to go ahead and get a second Royal Warrior that's a little bit more defensive on the defensive side. He is going to get the pig up, but I'm assuming that the attack is going to be... No, actually, no. It's not going to be imminent. Protokam is going to immediately switch out from the lizards to the squirrels now, figuring that he's probably not going to be able to get a solid defense. So Verber doing a pretty good job in response to the aggressiveness that Cam was planning on going for here. And now could possibly have could possibly go in for a counter attack, but no, he's gonna go ahead and slowly build off some of these barbed wire. Maybe he'll probably go ahead and slow down a little bit of what Protokam wants to do, and also be a great counter for the lizards as well, because it makes it much more difficult to really kind of play with a lizard comp. So I wouldn't be surprised if Cam decides not to dive into the really dive into the lizard at all with this game. So I would imagine that he's probably going to go ahead and wait for the 120 to go ahead and get his Falcons in. He's going to do just that. And right now NounVerber is probably going to get into Squizzard here to try to get that quick combination, because while Squizzard isn't played as often in this particular patch compared to patches in the past, from what I remember, it's still very, very strong, especially when we have this open field. You can kind of attack from anywhere. You could definitely see that being the case a little bit with Protokam kind of parked in the corner. But we are going to see some lizard here from Protokam. And NounVerber is going to go ahead and dive into tier 2 himself as he finally builds his Falcon. We are seeing that Falcon is going to be a little bit supply box considering that we have Mills on the way as well. We might see a possible attack coming soon from Cam, but I would imagine he'd probably sell the... Oh, he's going to sell both squirrels here just so you can go ahead and get that second Falcon out. So he's going to go into squishes as well, but I would say the tier 1 count is going to be more so on Verber's end. And as the barbed wire gets slowly built, it's a great way to kind of slow down the lizards. At least in my opinion it would. But I would assume that the lizards would be there just a tank because we also have moles coming into play that can pretty much clear out any kind of barbed wire. So it could become obsolete if he's able to go ahead and keep these things down. So now we're seeing a lot more tier 1s being utilized on Protokams, and he's gonna be more aggressive, it looks like. And he pretty much has all the tempo going over to his side, but oh, we actually some lizard shenanigans happening over here. It looks like that Verber was trying to see if he can go ahead and get a sneak attack, but there really isn't any other way he can attack into this original base. Meanwhile, Protokam is gonna go ahead and finally dive into his second mill, but he might be going into attacking here because he has plenty of time to go ahead and go for it. But we do have a wolf on the way for NounVerber, so if Cam takes the time to actually scout this, which I think he might have already. Let's actually check real quick. Did he scout this? He hasn't yet. So with that in mind, if Cam scouts this, he'll go ahead and probably attack now because he doesn't have that much of a window here that's left to go ahead and go for it. So he's going to go to scout, but he is going to see that there's one here. And he is going to scout that the warden is there. So I'm sure he's going to go ahead and slide on in. He does have a board coming out, but he knows it's going to be a little bit behind. So I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to just say bump it and attack now. Or he might just go ahead and wait for this board, because even with the wolf coming out, I'd still give the win to Protokam, but he does have its supply box, so he's going to sell off one of the tier 1s and then rebuys it, just so he can go ahead and get that thing started. Meanwhile, the wolf is almost out, and the Falcons are starting to come in for NounVerber. It's making it a more even playing here, as we actually see an attack there from NounVerber, which honestly, I don't think that was the wisest decision considering the fact that all the farms here are in the far end. It makes it pretty much much more difficult for any kind of lizards to come in to try and do some kind of harassment to take out a majority of that food. But the wolf is now out for NounVerber. We are seeing a little bit more things going as the board's going to come out very, very soon. This could go either way, but looking at the army graph, NounVerber does have a little bit more on the army side, but the income is slowly going to get into more on Protokam's end as the game goes on. We are seeing a boar coming out. The boar's now out and about, so he's going to go ahead and get ready and grab as many tier 1s as possible here, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. We are going to see a third mill on Noun's side to possibly go ahead and get this victory. But, oh lord, Cam's coming, and it's not going to go very well with a lot of that affected base. And right now, the boar is doing all the magic in the world. Of course, he's gonna be in a little bit of trouble here as he loses it, and the Falcons are still gonna be alive. So now, able to defend very, very well and have the advantage. I wouldn't be surprised if Noun actually goes ahead and goes for the attack here. He doesn't have that much of an opening left. He does still have the wolf, and his units are cracked at the moment. So it could be good for him to go ahead and dive right on in and go ahead and finish this game off and possibly take the lead here. So now Noun goes ahead and goes to the battle. He is going to go ahead and wipe the floor off with the tier 1s, but it gets defended off pretty easily from Protokam. Like I said, he probably could have went in immediately instead of waiting for the units to come out, because Cam does have this mill here to go ahead and replenish a lot of his army. And it's still finally putting that 8th farm down. Both players do it respectively. But Cam does not have the boar anymore, so he's going to have to utilize a very scrappy play here to be able to get this W for the game 1. Meanwhile, NounVerber can easily go ahead and build things up. He has his 3rd base up, out and about. And really, Cam, only thing he has is the lizards for the most part. He's gonna try and see if he can find some kind of opening to go ahead and get rid of this 3rd base. But now it's ready for it. So he's gonna have to go ahead and try and just go mass tier 1 and do a little bit of praying. He does go for the 3rd mill on his end. He's gonna be very behind on the economy right now. You know, as we look at the big difference here as the game goes on. But now Protokam gonna have to go ahead and try and work his way around and go into this fight. And he's gonna lose that one pretty easily, especially on the attack side. And that's probably gonna do it here. So Protokam not able to get it done as NounVerber takes the lead 1-0. Alright, let's go ahead and dive into game number 2. So, up on the north, we have NounVerber as the common folk. Meanwhile, more so in the southwest position, we have Protokam rocking the KSR. Let's go ahead and dive into what the maps look like as a whole. We are seeing a very spread out here. This is definitely I would say this is probably more favored into NounVerber because of all this open space that we see right here, and not really much to spread around for Protokam to get a 2nd mill. The closest one is right here, but we are seeing a bit of a wall. There might be a crack here that he can slide into, but it could be more difficult to kind of defend. He's gonna have to slowly creep towards these other bases. Meanwhile, Noun has an easy base right here, easy base. These 2 bases are easy to pick off too, especially if he gets this 3rd one, and just continue harassing that base and prevent it from coming up, and only having to rely on this back one here for Protokam. So diving into the compositions, we have a Squizzard with a dash of Pigeon on Noun's side, along with the Falcon Cam, with the Badger being played along this time, and Cam switching it up as well as we go ahead and go back to playing it. Cam as well going in for a Squizzard bow combination, but this time having the Badger instead of the boar. So basically, it's kind of the same composition, but instead of boar, we have the Badger. Meanwhile, Noun changing it up quite a bit, as he does go ahead and change it up for a Badger as well. Other than that, nothing too crazy here to start things off in the going, as Protokam and Murloc are looking to kind of keep things pretty well scouted for the most part. Nothing too crazy, but Noun actually deciding to go for a early squirrel, which is a bit surprising here. Probably trying to not deal with the shenanigans that Cam has been trying to do in the early going. He does like putting down a Mole Warren to be cheeky, being aggressive, but I don't think Noun wants to have any of it. So we are going to see a gentleman 8 between the two, more or less. And we are going to see that Noun's going to go ahead and put down the 2nd one, and Protokam's going to go automatically into the Squizzard game, as he does probably sell one of the squirrels here to go ahead and get 3 warrens to the 2. Now, selling warrens is definitely a big case here, as we are seeing it from Noun as well a little bit later on for tempo. He is going to go ahead and get into 4, and I imagine that Cam's going to go into 5, and the tempo on Cam's end seems very, very strong. He's going to go mass Lizard here, but I don't know if it's going to be able to defend very well against this, because again, Noun doesn't really have too much of an opening, really. I mean, there is an entryway right here that he can probably try and abuse, but Noun's going to see right through there, and it looks like are we having a lizard off right now? It looks like we're having a lizard off. And I don't know if swapping the lizards with the squirrels is the best idea, because now, even though that we are seeing a retreat over on Protokam's side, and Protokam, and now it's gonna have the more lizards on there. Still has to wait for something to come out. They're gonna trickle down, and a pig's gonna go down, and that's gonna be all that match is gonna be happening. So he is gonna take a little bit of the eco on that end. So it's gonna be interesting how Cam's gonna counter for this. Cam's gonna go ahead and dive into the second mill. Gonna take that back mill first and foremost, really. And I'm assuming that Cam is gonna try his best to just defend as much as possible here, because he is gonna have the defender's advantage, even though they are gonna be even in numbers on the lizards on this part. But now Cam's gonna go ahead and settle down and go ahead and get into the squares of combo once again. So right now, a lot of building up. This isn't gonna be a massive tier 1 battle. Both sides not really bothering too much on defending or attacking at this current juncture, and I would imagine here that we see that the cams are starting to come out. We are going to see that now it's going to go ahead and maybe not. I thought it was going to go ahead and dive into that, but it says it's going to try and go for a cabin, go for those EC60 food. But I think he's trying to wait until Cam bumps off somewhere. He's going to go ahead and buy into the tier 3. And so, I don't think, did Protokam see that? I'm not too sure if he did. Okay, he did. So, with that in mind, Protokam is going to be very well aware. He's going to go ahead and dive right on in and attack and try and mitigate that 180 food and put now in a bit of a struggle. We are going to see the squirrel's going to come in first, and then the lizard's going to come right after, but the cam's doing all the work right now. But will be taken down, and the squirrel cat's gonna be way too much, and I think that might be game here, as the combination of squids is so powerful, and now the horn's gonna be taken down, and there's just nothing that really Noun can do here, as now the tier 3 is gonna get focused. The cams are finally gonna come out and save that Warren just for a little bit, but he's gonna be forced to sell, so that's gonna be it, to be honest with you. There's not much that Noun can really do here to stop this onslaught, and that's going to be game number 2, but this time, Protokam gets the dub as we tie the series 1 apiece. We're guaranteed a game 4. Oops, I pressed the wrong button. Yeah, I pressed the wrong button. My bad. Oops. It'd be like that sometimes. So let's go ahead and get into game number 3. We'll see who takes the lead here, as NounVerber in the east side representing the common folk, while Protokam on the west side repping the KSR. So let's go ahead and see how the mills are doing right now. We are seeing another pretty even but aggressive type of style. We do have this ninja base right here, which Noun does scout, and while Proto does have an easy access to these two bases, more so. So I would say that this will be good for a, maybe you could say a base race scenario just in case, or just to go ahead and be greedy on the, get a little greedy on the eco, so that way you can kind of put Cam on a goose chase. But diving into the compositions, we're seeing quite a bit of a change here. NounVerber is gonna go ahead and go into, actually NounVerber doesn't have much of a change at all, really, outside of dropping the cams for the moles, while Protokam is pretty much going for your pretty standard deck, squirrel, squall with the pigeon on the side with the badger, as well as the skunk and falcon as the tier 2 combination. So diving right on into it, we are seeing that NounVerber is going to have the one scout right there in the corner. Protokam's going to scout that as well. So they are both very well aware of this thing. So if Cam doesn't see a lot of food on NounVerber's side, he can imagine that this was taken, and he can probably snipe that if he wanted to. Speaking of sniping, we are seeing the moles coming into play on Protokam's end. Actually, no, we are seeing that Cam was gonna go ahead and go for a moles of his own, but decides to back off. Instead, goes ahead and puts a squirrel run because I'm pretty sure he knows that an attack is gonna come from somewhere, and so it's probably good to go ahead and dive this now. But the problem is that mole warren is already ready to go, already has a couple of moles out. But the question becomes, will the moles have enough time to really get there? And no, I really don't think so, because Noun's, I was gonna say Noun was being able to respond very well to at least prepare, but Protokam realizing that there's not much that he can do there for selling that mole warren, and instead just go ahead and dive into 2-2-2. So a pretty wacky way of getting into the gentleman's 8, but we are gonna see that any case, no shenanigans gonna be happening between two sides. So now we're seeing Protokam floating a little bit, deciding to go ahead and go into the tier 2 early this game, going for the skunks, which is a great counter to our mass tier 1 composition, especially on the squirrel count. But really, Protokam is just trying his best to stay on the more defensive side, it looks like, in the beginning of this game. He's gonna go ahead and rebuy some of these to kind of match the count a little bit, or at least extend it. But as I'm saying that, now deciding to go very aggressive here, going to put in the Badger very early on. So I'm sure that when Protokam sees that there's still only like 3-ish warren, there's still a lot of food left to be had, and he is gonna go ahead and scout the Badger. He knows something's up, he sees what's going on, and we'll see how Cam responds. And he's gonna respond by actually going straight for the kill. See if he's able to have enough time to go after this. I'm assuming a couple of mole warrens go down. But he's gonna, yep, the mole warren goes down. He's gonna go ahead and wait for get the two gas going, and the battle is gonna go ahead and commence. And I don't think Noun has the ability to go ahead and stop this, because the pigeons are actually putting in work, but he does lose his commander, and that's going to be able to give the advantage over to NounVerber. But the damage from the skunks is just too much, as he's able to go ahead and take out 2 of those pigs before Protokam decides to go ahead and retreat. But he's going to go ahead and leave the 60 food out and about, getting the kill on that mole warren. And he will have to keep the 2 around, but he's going to be aggressive here and take on the battle, because now the Badger is supply blocked at the moment. Not until now. It's now finally paid off. But Cam has to go in now if he wants to go ahead and get this game over with, because if that Badger comes out, that might be GG's. So the mole quickly going ahead and take things out, and the defensive moles coming into play, but it doesn't seem to do much, as the skunk's doing a heck of a lot of work here as the game goes on, and there's not going to be enough on Noun's side to pretty much bring this back, because now the focus fire is going to go on the mill, and that's probably going to be GG's. So game number 3 is going to go over to Cam. So we'll see if he takes it outright as we head into game number 4. So, will NounVerber be able to take it to a 5-game series as he rocks the common folk on the west, while Protokam out in the east side rocking the KSR? Let's go ahead and take a quick look over here to the mills that are being had right here. NounVerber has a very easy second war they can get to, but not really much else, because of the fact that the other available ones are all the way across the map, plus with the campfire. Meanwhile, Cam has plenty of mills to go after, and a lot of these are on high ground as well, so it makes it much more difficult to kind of attack it. And even though there's kind of a backdoor-ish, not really. He has to work his way, now has to work his way around to really attack a base like this. So it becomes very more difficult to really kind of defend here. So mill count definitely goes on Cam's side. Looking at the comps. It doesn't seem like there's much of a change here outside of the mine, but this time Protokam's gonna go with a boar here to try and wrap this up. So let's go ahead and see how this game plays out as we dive into some scouting from both sides. Cam being able to find it very, very quickly, seeing how advantageous the map is towards his end. As we go ahead and look over for Noun. Noun does decide to go a little cheeky. We see a cheeky mole being come into play, but I don't think the placement is right. Yeah, I think he understands that the placement is not there. And so Protokam is going to go ahead and get into the gentleman's aid, it looks like. Actually, no. Protokam decided to go ahead and go into moles of his own. He's going to put the mine down. And I would imagine that it looks like Cam was trying to see if he can try and angle this so we can go ahead and get an attack going, but there's 3 moles that are just waiting to pounce, but it's not really going to be enough, and I'm pretty sure now he's going to see this. He does. And so he's going to go ahead and take care of the moles here, and we're going to see a quick sell there from Protokam. So 15 food lost, a lot of food lost there for Protokam because of those moles not being utilized, and now doing a great job baiting the moles to come over to go ahead and make them lose. So I think that was about, if it's at minimum 60 to 75 food, like 40 to 75 along those lines. Quite a bit of food lost in the early going of this game. Cam is looking to possibly dive into it, but I think he already knows that any kind of aggressive rush play is basically dead in the water. And he's gonna have to go ahead and allow Now to go ahead and have the 8. And now it's gonna go ahead and get into the mill. Meanwhile, Cam is gonna go ahead and dive into his cams. Believe it or not, Cam using cams, that's crazy. So I have to say that this is gonna be a pretty interesting way to start things up as we go ahead and see that Cam's gonna go ahead and dive into the mill here. He may have to be, he might be a little bit delayed considering the fact that the second cam's gonna be bought in any moment. If he doesn't just go ahead and put in 1, he will put down the 1, put down 2 actually. So he'll go ahead and pay off that second cam just fine. Meanwhile, NounVerber is gonna go ahead and get a little greedy on the economy here. Well, no, actually both are going to be matching up in economy just about, with Noun being up by 1. And now we're seeing a couple of mines being used here to perhaps kind of slow down any kind of push that Protokam wants to do. And Protokam does decide to not utilize the cell. He's going to go ahead and try to attack. And now a couple of lizards gets lost and a squirrel. So even though Cam doesn't really necessarily care that much, we'll take out, and look like he's gonna go ahead and dedicate this battle. I'm not sure if this is a good idea considering how much loss that he has, but he's gonna go for it anyways. We'll see how well it does as the Cam's gonna be trying to put in work and get the quick sell. They see a farm being lost, and that is the case. 1 farm goes down, 2 farm might go down, maybe. So right now, Cam's doing a really, really good job here. I might have used my own words, as the first mill is gonna go down on Noun's side, and I think that's gonna be all that Cam can do here. But that's a lot of value that Cam took in that engagement, and it really puts Noun very much behind here. So now Protokam can just go ahead and buy a mass tier 1 and finish off this game outright. That's such a great response there for Protokam, as he went aggressive at the right time and really pushed his way and get a majority of that eco. So now Noun's really behind in the economy lead, and we go ahead and look into the income. That's a huge loss there for Noun. And even though the armies are now completely matched, it's not gonna matter too much, because as the game goes on, it becomes more into Cam's favor because of the economy that's been given to him. And now Noun has to go ahead and try and desperately defend whatever Protokam is going to be cooking. Because the lizards are here. The lizards are probably going to go ahead and take any sort of damage for the mines. That's going to be the case. And now the squirrels in the camp can just go ahead and wrap this up. So I think it's safe to say that game number 4 is going to go over to Protokam's side, as this mill is going to go down. And the rest of this army is going to be going down with it. So, yeah, good game for Cam, 100%. We are seeing the Falcons come in, but it's not going to really matter as we do see the tap. So, GG is going over to Protokam as he takes the series 3-1.